feeling? Feeling good. Yeah, this is the first session in the morning, so you always feel good. After you need to walk a lot and talk to a lot of people, but now it's a refreshing moment after a cup of coffee, I guess. But very, very nice to have you around with us. In the morning, usually there's a traffic jam and everything, and so I'm sorry this room is a little empty, but we do have online streaming. So there are people watching us actually through the UN link system. We're going to just get started and, right now. So let me first of all give you a little bit of context to where we are and what we're about to do this morning. And we have an hour from now until 10. But what really we want to do, because today's sessions focuses on really zero carbon campus to global action, digital pathways to education and climate solutions. It's a long title, but essentially what we're looking at is the role of digital education for impact on sustainability and climate actions. So we have some champions here among you, basically from different sectors and different perspectives. What we're looking at today is to have that kind of a discussion and the first round of conversation among you to share insights and perspectives on three things. First of all, because Jesse, our organization, and Luis is our CEO, we have been working really hard to drive this thing with digital solutions to enhance sustainable development. So we look at the digital in core of the work that we're doing. So of course, digital education is a big part of it. We had a discussion with the Bahara, and it seems it's at the core of capacity building. So it's a key piece. So we're going to focus on digital education, looking at how we address the skill gaps in the climate sector and advance low carbon new transition, aligned with our key agenda for Jesse. So that's the first one. The second one, we're honored to have President Yang to be with us today to share that experience. And he's leading that initiative in China on Net Zero Campus, but at the same time focus on digital education and capacity building by bringing students and faculty on these projects of renovation or transition on campus. So this is a good experience, and he can share some case with us. And then it's really important that to invite you to share that diverse perspectives from each of your working areas, global resources from the UN side, from regional perspective in Africa, leadership in capacity building, and also private sector. We have someone who's on the traffic right now, but China's largest solar company. They've been involved also in the transformation of the campus that President Yang is doing. And so Coimbra University is definitely taking a lead on the climate action. So it will be good to see the European-China perspectives being, sort of facilitated and sparking off some interesting discussion for scaling up these really nice practices. So that's all for this morning. It's a lot. And I have some hard time. I apologize. There has been some messages and confusions that I created, but I think that also shows diverse and rich perspectives of where we come from. All right. So without any further delays, I should get started. And the first one I want to bring to the stage is my CEO, Luis Neves, and CEO of Jesse, to bring the Jesse perspectives to set the stage. Please.
Well, thank you so much, Tim. I'm losing my voice, so if I stop in the middle, don't be surprised. I had a very, very long day yesterday, and the cooling system is really killing me. So good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to this important session. From Zero Carbon Campus to Global Action, Digital Pathways for Education in Climate Solutions. And on behalf of Jesse, the Global Enabling Sustainability Initiative, we are a business industry initiative that brings together the private sector, different industry sectors, but with a strong focus on sustainable development. We have been doing this for 25 years. Next May, we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary. We were born at UNEP, the United Nations Environmental Programme, at our origin, and then we moved a little bit away from UN office in Paris, but we kept our relationships with the UN system. And today we have three big organizations that are our partners: UNEP, ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, and of course UNFCCC. That's why we are here as well. And we have a strong connection with education, by the way. So although we are a private sector organization, today we have over 20 universities cooperating with us. And that's why I think this session is so important. We have the technology side and the universities that are working with us, and we need to connect ourselves because technology will be having a major impact in education and many other things, but education is a fundamental pillar of the humanity, and we are seeing many things happening that somehow are going a little bit under control, and so I think it's important that we bring in Jesse, we are a multi-stakeholder platform that we really start to establish a stronger dialogue between the private sector and the universities. And so on behalf of Jesse, I would like to thank our co-organizer, also Jesse member, the Huanghe Science and Technology University, for convening this timely dialogue here at COP. And we are joining, and we feel honored to join hands with one of China's most forward-looking institutions and to host this session at the very heart of the COP30 global conversation. So as we gather here in Belém, a city of rivers and knowledge exchange, we are reminded the path to climate resilience, that the path to climate resilience must begin with learning. This is a COP focused on implementation, and education is where implementation begins. Around the world, we are witnessing two powerful transformations, the climate transition and the digital revolution. These are not parallel forces. They are intertwined, deeply intertwined, shaping the way we produce, consume, move, govern, and grow. And ultimately, they are human-driven. Education has become a strategic priority for Jesse's mission to enable sustainable digital transformation. Digital technologies could help reduce up to 20% of the global emissions, but only if we invest in skills, institutions, and inclusive systems that make that possible. We must rapidly scale up digital education as a climate strategy because technology moves fast and education must move even faster. Today, we will hear lively case stories from across the education ecosystem, from leading private universities such Huanghe in China, from digital education platform in Africa, and from one of Portugal's oldest and most globally connected university. Together with the perspectives from the policy community represented by UNDESA and from the corporate sector represented by LONGi, Green Energy, we will explore how education can be a driver of climate action across diverse geographies and sectors. So let me stop here by wishing everyone a fruitful and inspiring discussion today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you for that opening remarks to set the context on the stage. So now I would like to invite President Yang from Huanghe Science and Technology University to share with the case the project he's pushing for, Net Zero Campus. Welcome.
Thank you, everyone. And it's my honor to join you at the COP30. Okay, here we go. Today, we gather with a shared purpose to explore how education can drive climate action and share a more sustainable future. On behalf of Huanghe Science and Technology University, I express my gratitude to Jesse for the collaboration extended to us and to every partner. We have worked tirelessly for climate solutions. First of all, I would like to do let me see. I got it. Let me give a try. Oh, sorry. have to get hold of this. Okay. I'm giving you a quick introduction of our university. Our university was founded in 1984. It started out with substantial funding, but only with a single belief: education can change destiny. The founder, Professor Hu Dabai, actually is my mom, began with the equivalent of only a few dollars, actually roughly $4, and opened a small study classes with preservation and pioneering spirit. The institution grew step by step into a comprehensive university with more than 30,000 students on campus now. The university's guiding ISO is simple: be accountable to students. Over the past decades, we have built an industry-integrated learning ecosystem where curriculum, real projects, industry partners, and student innovation from a continuous cycle. We have cumulated over 300,000 practical, action-oriented talents who are able to innovate, contribute, and make impact on their workplace and the communities. Oh, sorry, actually the slide, actually I'm ahead of the slides. It's hard for me to see it from here. Yeah, okay, that's the content we already covered. Let's go to the At the Huanghe Science Technology University, sustainability is not only an abstract slogan. It exists in every corner of the daily campus life. We advance carbon neutrality through a three-layer framework: physical infrastructure, education integration, and behavior change. Sorry about that. It's hard to be seen from this side. Physical layer, building a low carbon infrastructure, distributed solar, photovoltaic, and microgrid systems, air source heating replacing conventional boilers, so reducing emission by 50%, green buildings, and recycling construction materials. Also, rainwater collection system reduce water use. Of course, they are not only the pilot projects, they are part of the students' everyday environment. Secondly, let me try to get the, it's good. I have to take out this eyeglass to see that. Okay, sorry. Now, moving. Okay, next, please. Okay, yeah. We transform real campus decarbonization projects into learning experience. Students can help design our solar PV systems, also can participate in campus microgrid planning, operate a food waste treatment facility using black soldier fly biodegradation, conduct the carbon accounting and energy management. So on all those projects, our faculty and students take part in. So at our campus, the workshop is the classroom. The technology becomes a textbook. Thirdly, the behavior layer. Next, please. Oh, okay. We create an innovative system where students earn carbon points by low carbon commuting, participating in recycling efforts, and practicing energy conservation. Carbon point can be exchanged for tree planting or green-themed items, turning sustainability into a motivating and rewarding habits. Our goals are clear and measurable. We want to reach carbon peak by 2028, also become carbon neutrality by 2034. That's our 50 years anniversary. Next, please. Digital technology amplifies the climate education and action. On campus, we are developing an energy carbon monitoring platform that provides real-time visualization carbon emission across buildings. Smart meters and interactive dashboards make carbon reduction progress visible, measurable, and trackable. Students learn climate science through immersive digital tools, VR simulation of the carbon cycle, AR visualization of the solar energy conservation, microgrid design through programming and modeling. In this way, students not only learn climate solutions, they build them. Digital also open our campus to the world. We collaborate with local government and industry partners to develop low carbon campus standards, transform surrounding community projects, promote dual transition, green plus digital governance. Geographical boundaries fade. Education becomes a global platform of climate collaboration. Next, please. At our university, students not only passive learners, they are creators, designers, and problem solvers. Student team developed Green Breathing, a climate innovation project, has earned national recognition, has been showcased internationally. The confirm a belief I hold strongly. Students do not need to wait for the future. They can build it now. As an institution that began with almost nothing, we understand deeply that resources do not determine impact. Purpose does. Therefore, from COP30, we put forward 3 proposals. 1, building an open global alliance for low carbon education. Let us co-develop open sources climate curriculum, share methodologies, and make zero carbon campus solutions accessible to developing regions and resource limited institutions. Second, promote digital equity. Digital tools must empower our school, not just well-resourced one. Technology should reduce the climate gap, not widen it. Thirdly, accelerate your leadership for climate innovation. We propose to collaborate on a global climate innovation fund for students, enabling youth-led projects to transform creativity into a real project. Last, please. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, education is more about teaching knowledge. It shapes values, builds courage, and ignites action on our campus. Every solar panel represents a fusion of innovation and hope. Every carbon point reflects the commitment made by youth to our planet. Let us begin here in Berlin and expand the spark of the zero carbon campus to communities across the world. Education drives climate action. Digital empower climate solutions. Together, we can shape a resilient future. Thank you.
Thank you, President Yang. Thank you very much for sharing that first-hand perspective of what's going on in China with the innovation happening at the campus, but then connecting very quickly into a global action agenda. And we do have some kind of an exciting announcement to be done at the end of the session when we have all the perspective together to build an international alliance on something around digital education for impact. So what's next? We'd like to welcome Madam Bahara Saidi to come and present, and she represents an important perspective from UNDESA on the global perspective of sustainable development, climate action, but with the digital education at the core of driving all this. So you're welcome to come up stage, Sahara.
Thank you so much. And if colleagues in the back can help with the slides, I would very much appreciate it. And I see how it's small here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here. My name is Bahar Sayedi, as it was mentioned. I work as a senior climate and energy advisor at the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, which is based in the United Nations headquarters in New York. I was asked to provide a global perspective, so I thought perhaps it might be interesting to tell you where we are vis-a-vis the discussions on sustainable development when it comes to climate change, education, and digitalization. Next slide, please. I hope you're all familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2030. This was adopted in 2015, a few months ahead of the Paris Agreement, and it includes 17 goals. You will see education and climate are at the heart of this development agenda. Goal number 4 is focused on quality education, and 13 is about climate action. Next slide, please. Let's zoom in on the climate one, given that we are at the UNFCCC COPs. Each of the goals have indicators and means of implementation. So indicators are there to help us assess progress and report back on the progress, and means of implementations are basically enablers to achieve that those targets. So on SDG 13, there's 3 indicators, and as you can see, the third one is focused on education. And then within the 2 enabling conditions, means of implementation, one of them is focused on capacity development. That is to show you that education is very well embedded in the goal on climate action. So this is really good for those of us who want to see incentives for governments and others to work on climate and education together. Next slide, please. Where are we vis-a-vis the SDGs? This is the latest status on the development agenda. Unfortunately, we are off track. Out of the 169 targets, only 18% are on track. About half of them are moderately progressed or somewhat progressed, and over a third is stalled or even reversed. You can see here goal 4 on education, which has a combination of these 4 areas that I've described. And many of the goals, as I mentioned, are sort of off track. Climate, we all know GHG emissions continue to rise. And we continue to face the devastating impacts of climate change. On education, the goal is focused on quality education and access to education, mainly on youth and children. There has been progress in terms of improving literacy, but many people around the world continue to be illiterate, and that includes over 200 million children who are still not in school. And this is data from 2023. Next slide, please. Now, this is where I want to transition to what we have learned. We are in 2025, 10 years have passed since the adoption of the Paris Agreement and the SDGs. A critical learning lesson for us has been, and we have witnessed this particularly in the last several years, is that the global challenges that the world is facing are interconnected. And we can no longer afford addressing these challenges, whether it's climate, whether it's education, whether it's inequality, poverty, in isolation from one another. We are off track and we have very limited time to get on track. And the only way to do that is to look at integrated solutions that can address multiple challenges at once and result in greater impact. And that's what we mean by synergies. So pursuing synergistic solutions is something that we have learned over the past 10 years vis-a-vis the goals and the Paris Agreement. Next slide, please. The IPCC in 2023 put out their AR6 report, and they actually did a comprehensive analysis to look at the interlinkages between the SDGs and climate action. So here you see the column, the 17 goals, and it's assessed vis-a-vis adaptation and mitigation in different sectors: energy, urbanization, transport industry, so on and so forth. You see goal number 4 and how it's linked both on adaptation and mitigation to many of these sectors. And so this is a scientific analysis to let you know that the evidence is there. There are synergies. Next slide, please. Given our understanding vis-a-vis the synergies, there's now a global call to pursue integrated solutions, to look at these goals from the point of nexus, integration, synergies, and trade-offs. The Secretary General of the UN has put out a call in that regard. And within the UN, UNDESA, my department, who focuses on tracking progress on the SDGs, and UNFCCC, which is the basically intergovernmental forum responsible for climate action, have joined forces to take a deeper look at the synergies between the SDGs and the Paris goals. We have a dedicated expert group, which consists of university experts, think tanks, academia, 17 of them from around the world, who are sort of digging deeper on this conversation on synergies with the aim of deepening the evidence base. Next slide. So here I want to highlight 4 sort of key issues that we have gotten to in the work that we're doing on synergies. The first one is what I had mentioned already. The evidence and the data is clear. 80% of the targets on the SDGs are related to climate action. And for us to be able to achieve the Paris goal and the SDGs, we need to pursue them jointly, or we will sort of remain off track. The second one is about synergies bring efficiencies at scale. And this is sort of fresh from print, this year's report of the expert group, which looked at quantified benefits of integrated solutions that touch climate and SDGs together. And on the finance side, the scenarios indicate that you will get close to 40% in efficiency gains if you pursue these actions together. And this is critical when we talk about finance. As you know, we're talking about closing the finance gap on adaptation, reaching the 300 billion finance goal, 1.3 trillion, and so on. And there's trillions that are needed for the SDGs. So gaining efficiency when we talk about closing the finance gap and synergies is critical. Now, evidence guides action, and this is related to we do need to continue deepening the evidence base. We know the interconnections are there, but when you look at scientific analysis, data, and evidence, not all interconnections and sectors are registered. For example, education may be one of them. Do we have enough evidence and data out there that clearly demonstrate the connections between education and climate action? And then lastly, this is about we are 5 years away from the 2030 goal, and in the next 5 years, the global community will start thinking about what would be the replacement of the SDGs. What is the future agenda going to look like? And there we know that this conversation around synergies is going to be to play a major role. Next slide. So this is my last slide. I'm going to come here because I think it's the text is larger and I can see better. It's really food for thought for this workshop. It is about encouraging you to apply that synergistic lens to the conversation we're having today about digital education and climate. So first of all, the nexus between education, climate, and digitalization, how could that be a transformative force to close ambition on climate and other SDGs, as well as help make progress on the goals that we have already set for ourselves. And this one I want to focus on, especially because another key lesson we have learned throughout these 10 years is the importance of technology. As of now, the 17 goals do not have a dedicated goal on technology, on digitalization, but our recognition now is that the scale and speed at which technology has transformed economies and sectors across the world is something that really needs to be looked at as we start thinking about the future agenda. The next one is education itself. Right now, we're looking at the goal 4 in terms of access to quality education. Can we shift that thinking, shift it from access to quality education to creating enabled and empowered learners who can be digital and climate literate and act as agents of change in their own community. So not about access, but about agents of change. The next one, issues that we talk about often in these forums, including in the COPs, just transition, inequality. How does that translate to digital education? Inequality and lack of access to technology is a fundamental barrier in many countries around the world. Unless we close the digital gap, we cannot really talk about digital education on climate. So these are some of the things that we really need to address as we talk about this topic. Universities, we've heard great examples about what the universities are doing, and they could really be agents and hubs for innovation. How can we elevate the important role that the universities play? And lastly, and this is a bold suggestion, is that as the world reflects on the past 10 years, going towards 2030 and reflecting on what the future agenda could look like, could we think of indicators that connect education, digitalization, and climate clearly and embed that into the future development agenda? So just some thoughts for you. Last slide is to just say thank you for the invitation again. If you are interested in our work on synergies, on the last slide, there is a QR code. You can go to the last slide. And please connect with us. And yeah, there you go. And you can find more information about the various analytical sort of findings that we have so far come up with on this topic. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much, Bahara, for that high-level global perspectives, and which give us the sort of context. But at the same time, I really appreciate that the synergy you described, cross-sectoral, interagency, but I think also cross-regional as well. So we have perspective and best practices coming from all different regions, and this panel is also trying to bring that up and come up with the global synergy coming together. So that's really inspiring. Thank you, Bahar, for your contribution here. So next, we're going to regional perspective from Africa, and I have a high recommendation about Joseph, who is actually creating innovative digital platform in Africa, especially Kenya, to build capacity. And we all know that all the development priorities and inside of that there's an element, essential element about capacity building and education. So really would love to hear that. And I just want to remind everyone, due to the time constraint, we're going to combine the panel, final panel, to include everyone. But please, Joseph, you're welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning. Are we awake? Should I get you some coffee? Thank you very much, Jesse, and the organizers for having me today. I provide a perspective from climate and development in Africa. And my comments will be in the context of the platform we're building, which is an AI-driven data platform that leverages huge amounts of data, layers on expertise from agentic AI, always with a human being. So this is a co-pilot that's helping us accelerate projects that address climate and development on the continent. So Distinguished colleagues, partners, and friends, good morning. It is a privilege to join you today and to share a few reflections from Africa, a continent that sits at the very center of both the challenge and the opportunity of climate transition. Africa's story is often told through the lens of deficit. A deficit in finance, in infrastructure, in skills. But what I want to share today is a story of potential, a story of how digital innovation and new models of learning can help us turn that potential into progress. I want to provide a bit more context. I really enjoyed the description of the university in China with 30,000 students. At the pace of investment in education on the continent, we will not have that luxury. We will not be able to build universities and schools and institutions of learning at the same pace as our population growth. So our future, our education is digital by definition. It's also distributed because we have 54 countries, God knows how many languages, and God knows how many regional challenges. So think of the continent as needing an enormous amount of innovation in education, which has to be distributed, it has to be digital, and it has to be on digital infrastructure that's convenient and accessible to our context. Low power, low technology devices that marry with very high-tech AI solutions so that you have a hardware that can survive, but the software is modern enough that our young people are current. If you think about the scale of the challenge of addressing climate and development on the continent, it is a human capital bottleneck as well. Across Africa, we see governments, banks, communities working to accelerate the shift to clean energy, regenerative agriculture, and resilient infrastructure. But the truth is, progress is constrained not only by money, but by people. We face a massive human capital bottleneck. To deliver our climate ambitions, Africa needs millions of technicians, data scientists, project developers, financial analysts who understand both the technologies and the economies of green transition. In short, we need a workforce for the transition, and the speed of our transition will depend on how quickly we can build that workforce. So AFSEN is building capacity through data and digital tools. That is where our work at AFSEN, the Africa Climate and Energy Nexus, comes in. AFSEN was born out of this simple but urgent question: how can African countries move from plans to projects and from projects to investments at speed and scale? We realized that a critical missing link is not just the funding, but knowledge infrastructure, the systems that enable governments, young professionals to identify, prepare, finance, and implement climate projects. We are building a digital AI platform that does two things at once. First, it helps governments prioritize projects that align with national climate and development goals. And secondly, it trains the people working on those projects through embedded, practical, and data-driven learning modules. Think of it as co-pilots to help them learn on the job. In this way, every project we prepare becomes a training ground, every database becomes a teaching tool, and every digital transition builds human capacity as much as financial capacity. We also believe that we're going to have to do this by doing. We're going to learn by doing. The speed and scale of innovation in technology and the diversity of solutions out there, whether the soft ones such as climate finance or the technical ones from green hydrogen to everything else, means that we have to learn by doing. We cannot spend all our time in institutions and then come try to implement. There's just no time for that. Traditionally, training often takes people out of the system, sends officials or students abroad for courses disconnected from their daily work. Our approach is to bring the learning into the system. For example, we have led a hackathon, bringing talent from young Africans across the continent to identify AI-led climate solutions. When we work with ministries or banks, this is another example, to design clean cooking investment programs in Tanzania or Kenya, we use our AI tools to map data from the national budget NDCs, and project pipelines. But alongside the analytics, we embed guided modules that teach users how to interpret results, design feasibility studies, and structure blended finance deals. This turns real projects into live classrooms. It's what we call learning by investing, a model that builds capacity not as a side effect of projects, but integral to delivering on our projects. So there's a vision for cross-regional and South-South collaboration. Africa cannot and should not do this alone. There is immense opportunity to build bridges between continents, between China's experience in scaling technical education, Europe's leadership in research and standards, and Africa's innovation in doing more with a lot less. We envision a future where digital learning platforms are interoperable across regions, where a university in China can share a renewable energy simulation tool that a training center in Nairobi or Lusaka can adapt for local use, where credible frameworks recognize skills gained from practical climate projects anywhere in the world. That is what true South-South and global collaboration should look like: open, adaptive, and action-oriented. I will close with the following thoughts. Education is not preparation for climate action. It is climate action. Every young person we empower to design a solar project, every official we equip with structure and access to green finance, every farmer we enable to use data for resilience, all of them are part of global solution. At AFCEN, we believe the digital revolution can be Africa's climate revolution as well. By connecting data, skills, and capital, along with modern education tools and technology, we can unlock not just projects, but a generation of climate leaders who will shape the future of the planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for that important perspective you're bringing. And I'm sure that these cross-regional discussions are very meaningful because one area could learn from others, and also there's a cross-regional collaboration part. I'm sure that we can continue that discussion and also some collaboration opportunities on that. So thank you again for being with us. So now. I said that because of the time issues, we're going to merge to do two panels together. So maybe our staff back there could help me maybe putting two more chairs here. But I was just told we're very fortunate because this room next session won't start until 11:30. So we have extra time, a little bit of extra time. So I hope that you can stay with us. But the staff there said that we can actually have that room until 11:30, maybe before that for them to reset. Anyways, still, we want to merge the two panels together. I think it's good to have all the perspectives coming together. So what I'll do is I'll introduce the panelists to join us. So President Yang, of course, and Patricia as the Vice Rector of Coimbra University to join us as well. And Professor Merida from Coimbra. And also, I'm very fortunate to also have our partners and a member of Jesse from Longji, Madam Ho Ho, to join us from the private sector, one of China's largest solar companies. So please, I invite you to come up to the stage, have this discussion with us. So our staff, maybe you can put on the screen also the names for this slide. So please, you're welcome. Maybe they will show up the slide here. So maybe this is for President Yang, and this is for yeah. So, yep. Yeah, please, yeah. So it's really great to have this mix of speakers together representing very different perspectives too. And so as of this panel, there are three questions I really wanted to bring around and see each of you, how you bring your own perspective on those. My first question is going to be about the scalability, because we've seen fantastic examples of digital education and sort of in practice and in action in China, in Africa, and also there's a high level of discussion at policy level about the synergies. Now, so I wanted, before going into cross discussions, maybe focus zooming into Europe and then looking at Coimbra particularly, about your experience with digital education, especially related to sustainability, and how that somehow you foresee that can be scaled up for bigger impact. So first of all, I'd like to go to Patricia. Maybe you can share some perspectives from Coimbra as a leadership there.
Okay, thank you so much for having us here. It's a pleasure to join you. At the University of Coimbra, we, as was mentioned earlier, we are quite old. We date back from 2090. We are more than 7 centuries old. But our mission is to have innovation as a tradition. We are not stuck in the past. So scaling up digital education to fill the gap in the climate sector requires a multi-stakeholder approach that combines innovation, collaboration, and inclusivity, as already mentioned from our other speakers. So we do have some digital courses on climate action and towards sustainability. We have full degrees for example, at the master level and PhD levels that combine, for example, energy for sustainability, energy systems PhD in a collaboration with the MIT, and everything goes around we try to merge and to give inputs from the perspective of a higher education institution that has the mission and responsibility to educate younger generations towards the digital energy and sustainability transition that we face. It's quite difficult. We don't know the perfect answers, but it's even in our statutes of the University of Coimbra. It's our mission, and it's within our vision within the current strategic planning, the plan from the university, to educate students, but not only students, also the staff and the faculties members towards this dilemma in how to bring forward more complete answers that will educate the younger generations. So we try to scale up and create and co-create with companies and with other stakeholders from the society to co-create these new courses. The University of Coimbra, it's a university without walls. We are scattered around the city, and it's a medium-sized, very old city within Portugal. It's a very old university, but also always with the tradition of innovating and very concerned with our role in society. We aim to create and to educate students and to make them aware of what is going on in the world in very different dimensions. So perhaps somebody else can combine.
Thank you, Patricia, for that contribution. It's really interesting when you're mentioning this old university. It's a 13th century university, and now with the 21st century innovation, digital education, but also in partnerships. I really appreciate that point on the university without walls. And that's what we also heard from Huanghe University about their initiative, bringing partners together on all the discussion. I'll go later maybe to Longqi for that perspective, how they see themselves, working with the universities. But before that, maybe Henry, you want to also say something around that issue, particularly from your, you're doing a lot of research about education for students, and how do you see this actually becoming more scaled up in a society, but also maybe across regional global perspectives, and how you think that should go?
Thank you. I'm also from Coimbra, and my perspective is mainly European, but although not only because I've had in the past a lot of projects with South America, for example, and I spent a year in the United States at CMU, which is a relevant university in my field. So I know a little bit of how things are going on in the States. And recently we are having a fantastic experience with Polytechnic University of Macau in China. We are exchanging a good number of students, and that is very, very interesting too, because obviously other cultures from the educator point of view are key to scale up. Well, but in Europe, in my opinion, we have a kind of a paradox. In Europe, we have everything. We have, let's say, good technological platforms. We have the ETCS system, European Transfer Credit Systems, which is very important to make courses compatible. And we have a lot of very consistent frameworks with access. For example, Green Comp from the European Commission, European Sustainable Competence Framework, DishComp, the same for digital arena. And these are important repositories to help educators and citizens to do that. And the paradox is the following: why, with all these resources, things do not really scale up? And in my opinion, it is very important to understand that the world changed. Most of these resources and courses and tools are highly aligned with a relatively old model, maybe more than 1 year old, that this is the knowledge we want to convey to students, to people, to citizens. This is the source of the knowledge, and the world does not work in that way anymore. So all the universities in Europe are in and in the world, I believe, are in an intensive change, mainly because the source of the knowledge, now we have tools that we can ask questions and we get answers, tools that solve problems for us. We ask in our language and we get the answers exactly in the same way, in a way that is a kind of a finished knowledge. And this is what everybody in this COP30 is using. So this changed the focus from teaching to learning. And so we have a huge set of courses, tools, but people don't see them as the way to learn today. So, and this, in my opinion, there is an urgent change. So I think that motivation to learn is very important. Certification of the quality is something very important, and is something that universities know how to do. But we need to change the model. Otherwise, it is impossible to scale up, in my opinion. Let me give you an example, a concrete example, just to conclude my remarks, at least by now. In Coimbra, we have a course called Digital Intelligence for Sustainability. It's a 10 ECTS, so it's a small course, does not award a degree. It is open to all the students. It is totally aligned with COP30 objectives. And for my department is big. We have almost 2,000 students. It's a computer science department. I guess that 0 students enrolled in that course, although we promote the course. And a couple of years ago, we did the following. Every year we visit schools, secondary schools, to promote the department, to promote our bachelor degrees and master degrees. And it's typically a team of 1-2 students and 1-2 teachers and a good bunch of students from the third year. And we want to promote our courses in the secondary schools. We do that. It's an intensive work. And a couple of years ago, we decided to ask our students, master students, to run small workshops on sustainability for the students, obviously aligned to computer science, so things such as the cost of blockchain transactions, which is a crazy thing. It's the cost in energy, water, everything. The cost of a ChatGPT prompt, which is also a very important and a little bit surprising for something. And so our students need to learn a lot of things. Actually, they took the digital intelligence for sustainability just because they have a purpose and a goal. They want to go to secondary schools to teach the youngsters. And in this way, we are killing two birds with the same stone, because actually we are promoting our department and trying to attract the young students from the secondary. We are giving them a lot of information and teaching things from sustainable point of view, and our students become quite knowledge on that. So the motivation is key, and they learn by themselves because the tools are there, and the tools today are very intelligent, and obviously we cannot trust blindly, but things are improving. Today it's very easy to create a specialist on a given field. So I think we need to pay attention to the huge change in the world, in society. The problem is the world is changing much faster than schools, education institutions can cope with. And this is, for me, it's absolutely the first thing to be addressed if you want to really scale up. Sorry for taking a little bit long.
Yeah, that's fine. That's a very important perspectives about motivation, and we do want to actually talk about that maybe later when President Yang is looking at this issue. I know that he was looking at education from the way back. Looking at where's the end game and pathway for students to be involved in this whole process and develop curriculum based on that. Coming back to that, that's a very, very important point. So next, I think we'll go to a very different perspective, how we see this whole thing about education from outside in. So basically, we have the biggest solar energy company in China, LONGi. They are here at the COP looking at the just energy transition from a broader perspective, engaging different institutions, countries in different parts of the world. But when you look at cross-sectorally, looking at education and capacity development. So I'd like to, very curious to learn about LONGi's perspective and how you see when you talk about just energy transition, the piece about capacity building. What's your view and perspective on that? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's a great honor to be here to, on behalf of LONGi, maybe on behalf of our industry company. So LONGi is the world's leading solar technology company in the world. In the past 10 years, we have greatly reduced the cost of solar energy and made it the most economical power source in the world, just through the technical innovation and the improvement of the manufacturing efficiency. LONGi's goal is to make clean energy affordable for all, which want to make the transformation to new energy is fair for both the economy and society, especially education. In Africa, we have the schools get electric through green innovation technologies like solar plus. We also take part in community growth and lead the way in making education fair, helped students in a Pakistan refugee village to go back to the school. So we have so many cases like this. So this is which we want to change the world. We hope to bring the difference to the world. I think this is the just transition we constantly. Yes.
So I know Longji was also partnering with Huanghe Science and Technology University to actually develop a program on campus to sort of first of all develop that renewable energy transition in the campus, but also engaging students there. It's a very interesting pilot to start building this university to private sector partnerships, in action basically on the campus. We hope that it can be scaled up and also looking at the perspective from that. So maybe the next question then, because I want to get into now the part with related to cross-regional conversation and collaboration. What we have on stage is a European perspective and also Chinese. So I'd like to ask maybe Patricia, your thinking and your ideas about how this regional collaboration can happen, probably between Europe and China. What will be the benefits and the kind of the outcomes that we expect coming out of that? What's your view on this? Can you share with us?
Collaboration and cooperation is always a trigger to success. For historical reasons, Portugal and China have long and close bonds, especially with Macau. And we have many partnerships with Macau universities and also with continental China universities. So this cooperation, the European culture is quite different from the Asian one, of course, but we benchmark each other and we use the best practices, and we try this PhD program that Professor Madeira was talking about. We exchange students, Chinese students with Portuguese students. We receive Chinese professors and we send Portuguese professors. And in this way, we know each other better, we understand each other better, and co-create new degrees in a more appealing way to students, and with a purpose. The issue of having a motivation and not be scared by other cultures, it's precisely the other way around, that Coimbra University, and I'm sure many other universities across Europe, we try to build bridges with China and with companies across the world. It's the only way to turn students to be more engaged with the present and the future that lies ahead to them. We have to build these close connections with everybody, independently if they are from Africa, from Latin America, from the United States, from other regions in Europe, and with Asian region. So our perspective is always to collaborate, co-create, and use the best practices on a daily basis.
Thank you very much, Patricia. And I know, we came out of a Digital with Purpose Summit in Brussels, and there was a lot of talk about bringing digital education into the school system and the curriculum. There's a European digital strategy in the making. And maybe China could also share its own perspective of how we bring AI digital into perspectives. So due to the time constraint, I'll just go straight to Professor Yang. To give some maybe final comments around this issue of digital education, but bring China, Europe perspectives in your thinking on the level of your commitments. Yeah.
Okay. It's a very big question, actually. It's hard to actually summarize in a couple of sentences, right? Of course, digital education right now in China is very hot because it comes from government side. They push very hard. And, in China, if the government want to do something, there's a lot of resources they can put in. And also universities, and there's actually basically the guidance of what we want to do. So I didn't actually get a chance to say that, but we reform our courses actually in last 5 years, become fully digital. Basically, 95% of our courses become actually very digital. The students learning on our platform, the teachers actually teach on the platform. And but I have to say, actually, in the future, they can transform university completely. Basically, the faculty's role will completely changed from teacher to actually basically director. You have to write a script. You have to direct the actor rather than they teach the knowledge anymore. Especially, and why we use like real projects to teach students. Basically, put it in the real scenario to really. That's exactly like Professor just mentioned. We actually separated our college into 2 stages. First 2 years, the freshman year, sophomore year, basically learning knowledge. The junior year and the senior year, basically into the industry. They learn by actually doing. That's actually the real way in the future, rather than we teach knowledge, they learn when they graduate. So thank you very much, everybody, to join this panel. And we try to create a platform, basically an ecosystem to include everybody in. Even LONGi, we are a partnership. And we start our School of Carbon Neutrality this summer. And LONGi also is a founding partner too, and one of the founding partners. We have a lot of collaboration too. Thanks, very again.
Thank you, President Yang, for those concluding remarks. And thank you, everyone, for being with us on this panel. And we'll continue the conversation for sure. This is a starting point. Again, appreciation and thank you. So, Manali, I know, but back there, the staff told us that we can actually have some extended time. So just a final point. I need Luis to come up the stage to announce. And Luis is coming up to the stage to announce the launch of a very important alliance on digital education. Please.
Yes, thank you so much. So I think that we are running out of time and space. I would like to conclude that, as I said at the beginning, we need to bring education and technology together. And for that, we need a place where we bring the 2 components. And in that connection, I would like to announce that Jesse will be launching what we will be calling the Digital Education for Impact Alliance. So this will be an initiative that we would like to announce here today in cooperation with Coimbra and the Huanghe University, Professor Yang, Dr. Patricia, Dr. Enrique. So thank you so much for joining forces with us. And we are an action-driven organization. So when we start something, we jump into the work. And I'm sure that we'll be working with our private sector companies like LONGi that was joining here today and many others to make this platform a place where we really make real progress in the dialogue that is necessary between universities and technology companies. We need to work together to respond to the challenges that we are facing with AI. AI has many good things, but also many challenges that we need to consider. So thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to our cooperation in the future.